Oh my God, it's so exciting to speak to you again.
Yeah,
We
it's a
did it. We
while.
did an interview last year. I don't know if you'll remember.
I remember you quite clearly.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I always, you're a blonde as well, which is obviously, I married a blonde. I was mad on Doris Day and I met somebody many, many years ago before I was famous and she got blonde hair just like you. And it was all the miniskirt era. It was all, it was all Slimsville. It was, um, Twiggy and all that was going on, and the mini car came out. It was, I know
I
all the,
well, you know what, Dave? I drive a Mini because I'm sponsored by Mini, so I get a Mini because of my 80s music site, and I love hot pants.
yeah, I remember them. Them were quite funny, those, weren't they? They were like woolly as well, Anyway, once again, it looked pretty good if you're generally slim. But I remember it's a funny word actually, almost like, everything sort of well, it was all to do with the fashion, wasn't it? It was all to do with um, the stuff that I got from Kensington. I took Jan to Kensington, right? And believe it or not, this story, Freddie Mercury was working in there, and I didn't know him, but I'd made it right before him, and he was working in the section, I think, that made the platform shoes or something like that. So I took my wife in there and I saw this leather coat and it got all moons on it. It was almost like a little bit hippie, like glam rock hippie, you know, because she comes back to Wolverhampton and she's standing outside the bus stop, right? And a woman, a woman goes past and she was obviously flabbergasted. So she happened to know Jan's mother, but she didn't realize who Jan was. So she met this woman in the factory and said, I've seen the most ridiculous looking girl in my life standing outside the bus stop at Willenhall. She said, yes, that's my daughter.
Oh, that is so funny. Dave, you know what? It is so cool to see you again because last time we had our chat, it was my biggest watch interview on YouTube. We got 42,000 views the last time I spoke to you. So I'm hoping that this one's going to get even more views than
Uh,
42,000.
I think you might find it well because this year, you may be aware of it, but if you're not, I'll tell you. This year was a celebration for a film that we made in 1975. The film in 1975 was based on true stories from us. It was a bit hard edged. It was a little bit Get Carter, some rough stuff in there. But it was about a young band based on the 60s, and it was us, and the sort of people we had to deal with who didn't pay us. And but it was fun. And then we forgot about it. And Mark Lamoda, I think his name is, who's the film critic, was always mad on this film. And then the British Film Institute contacted us, right? So this was big time, and it was like, we want to remaster this film. We want to make it brighter. We want to bring it out. We think it's a very important film. And we think it's the Citizen Kane of the 60s, right? I mean, the Citizen Kane is Orson Welles, right? It's a famous film, right? I thought it was a bit more Michael Caine myself, but me and Nod, I mean, it was remarkable what happened. 1st of May, we went down to the British Film Institute's screen showing place, the other side of the river, and it was mega. It was like, I felt like I was Ruddy Tom Cruise. I was walking down and it was like, there were all these security guys and all these fans out there. And it was like, don't touch him, no autographs. And I was just wandering along with me and Nodge, we're sort of getting on a bit now, but I was glammed up, of course I was. And I got my wife with her. And then they took us into the actual building and they got a green room for us. And the director turned up and the Tom Conti, the actor, turned up because one or two of the people in the film, Johnny Shannon, they're not alive now, but
Oh,
most of them in the film. I mean, the one guy in the film who died anyway was Dinah Dawes' husband was in the film, and he's in the beginning of the film. He takes the part of like an Elvis Presley singer, and we don't like it, you know. But what I mean is, what you might find is, and what's happening with the tour, the tickets are flying. It isn't like well, I'm doing interviews because I love doing them, and then I knew right away I'd love talking to you. Um,
well,
and
I
yeah,
love talking to you too, Dave. Like this has made my day today. I'm very excited.
yeah. Well, I think in YouTube, I mean, there's always pictures of us on there, anyway. But I think the contrast of this tour and doing it because of the film, because of a lot of things really. But when we went in and sat with the audience, we hadn't seen the film for 40 or 50 years.
Wow.
So I was sitting there with the wife and she's looking at it, and my son's there. He says, "Who's that bird you're snogging in the back of that car?" You know, it's all like, and
Who
then
was it?
it was, I forgot her name now. She was a known actress. She's blonde-headed. I forgot her name now, but she's known.
And you were filmed snogging her in the back of the car.
Well, it was the part, you know. It was my girlfriend. She's Sarah Clee. That's her name, Sarah Clee. Um,
Are
yeah.
you a good
So,
snogger, Dave?
well, I mean, I don't recommend. I think it was more to the point that I was acting. This was like, you know, this is this is a film, you know, and we got to learn how to do it. So and then when the wife's watching the film, she said, "How come is it you've got several girlfriends and the rest of the band haven't got anybody?" I said, "Well, I think it was based on real life."
Oh,
I, don't,
don't need to know
don't take
anymore.
don't take that literally. I'm just joking with you. No, in truth, no. It's. They wanted me to be the character, the showy one, you know, and obviously when you're
Did
famous.
you have a lot of girlfriends back in the day, Dave?
Uh, no, actually, I didn't.
I don't believe you.
Um, I'll explain, and it's a good story, and it's a very honest story. Is at school I was very quiet, right? I was up the corner of the playground, and my sister said to me, she said, "You were always up the corner. You weren't mixing with people." I said, "Well, everybody's got fabulous hairstyles. You know, they've all got thick hair. I'd always had a fringe, you know, and I looked okay, but your hair was really short and my ears sticked out, you know. So
Oh,
I didn't really have any girlfriends. I think there was one I did go out with, which was a lovely girl that mom and dad loved. She wasn't the all-time one, though. But because I love certain things, I think what happened is the Beatles. They paved the way for me. So from the uh, uncomfortable thing. I went to work for a big firm for 3 years. Mom got me the job, but I didn't like it. I wasn't very good at spelling and I wasn't very good at school, but I could play guitar.
yeah.
And that's what led to something, right? And when the Beatles made it, the fringes came in, right? And
Nothing
I
wrong with
said
the
to,
fringe, is there? Nothing wrong with the fringe.
yeah, but I had a short one right up here,
Ah,
right?
okay, fair enough.
But when the Beatles made it, of course, they weren't the Rolling Stones. You know, they were with the Beatles. But I was 18 then, and I came home because the tarmac said to me, the personnel said, "I understand you're in a band, Dave." He said, "You really should button down to this job. This is a job for life, you know." I'm thinking, not my life. But yeah, this is a job for life, you know, you work hard. He said, "You're not very good at night school, are you?" I said, "Well, I wasn't very good at spelling." He said, "We've noticed that because things are in the wrong places." And it was like that. Anyway, I just thought, right, I go home. The Beatles are massive and everything's great about the Beatles, right? The era was 1963, right? Before we won the World Cup. So I went out and I got mom and dad together. And dad sends my sister out. He said, David wants a serious talk. So I'm standing there and I'm going, Mom, Dad, they knew I could play. They knew I was good. I just want to give this job up and I want to turn professional, right? And it was like Mom's standing there. Now, Mom's extremely clever woman, right? She used to be a war cabinet minister's secretary,
Wow.
sworn to secrecy. We never knew that. Anyway, she's standing there and she got me the job in the office. She's a bit cautious, but Dad's different. Dad goes, "That's it, son." Yeah, he knew I could play. I was always playing shadows and all that sort of stuff. And Dad knew I could play. And I was in a pretty good group and they were friendly. And I turned professional and right away out the door. And I thought, right, this is the time to grow my hair over my ears. Right. And you know what? It worked. Because when I got on stage and I got a smile, as you know, I had someone said to me, he says, you're not bad looking, but I can't stand your ears, right? Now, I'd
Oh,
always,
that's
oh yeah, I
no.
had a rough time with
So that's a
girls.
woman said that to you.
Oh, a girl at school, yeah.
She said, "Oh, that's awful."
She came into, I told my mate I fancied going out with her, you see, and she got the wind of it. And she walked in and she said, I will never go out with you. How dare you? She said, you're not bad looking, but with those ears, it's impossible. So I wonder what she
That's
thinks of me
mean.
now. I wonder what she thinks of me now.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
once I grew my hair and I got on stage, I started to experiment with blouses. I know that sounds funny, but they look like shirts. So I got this uh, silvery shirt and I got this red shirt and a yellow one. And I stuffed it on me, right? And I'm standing on stage, right? And I've grown my hair, right? So I'm covering my ears, right? And I'm on stage and it looks like wow, what's that? And then people are looking at me and they're all smiling at me, you see. So I could feel the confidence coming to me, you know.
Oh,
I wasn't conscious of the problem I had at school. So it was a bit like, and then we did another gig somewhere else, and there was a few girls screaming at me down the front. And I was going, hey, this is working out quite well. What are they doing? Screaming at? Well, one girl was screaming at me because she thought I looked like George Harrison. So, and I did a bit. So I went out with her for a while, right?
did you?
But the business of girlfriends was more before, long before I met my wife, was we used to travel up and down the country, right? Margate, which are Hastings, all that, they were regular gigs, right? We used to play those places. We play the Mecca ballrooms, all places, up Scotland. Sometimes we'd go abroad to Germany. That's the world changed for me. It was, I felt that all of a sudden I was in control of my destiny. It was, I felt in a sense, the reason I had the guts to wear those clothes on top of the pops is because I believed in it. I believed in it and I knew it was right. And my manager, Chas Chandler, was mad on my clothes, yeah, in a big way, right? The more ridiculous, the more the records would sell. Can you believe that?
No, I can believe it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the group she was in. I think her name was Jay. She was in there was Jay, there was two or three, there's two girls and a boy. It was around about the time we were having hits. Anyway, she said to me, she said, I used to tune in. I was 11. And she said, I didn't, it wasn't about the song. It was, what's he going to wear? And that bit of the look, um, there was a picture in a national newspaper of Beyonce, right, with a short fringe, and she looked a bit like me, or I looked a bit like her. So they put a picture of me going, Beyonce's copying me, right? Because my fringe was short, which gave, I'll show you, that's me, right?
I can't
Can you
see. You have
see
to
it?
hold it a little bit higher. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So you've got the short fringe, glitter there, glitter in my hair. That's a super yob thing because my car was yob one.
Just a bit higher, bit higher.
Yeah,
That's
can
it.
you see it?
Yeah, yeah.
That that was taken at top of the pops, probably looking at the costume, it's probably around about the Christmas song, around about that time. But that look, and what I did, I had a short fringe, right? I used to use hairspray. Then the sides were grown down, so I
Your
had
hair's
long,
long. It's really long,
real.
isn't
It
it?
was like yours there, and I had long hair, and I used to flick it back. It was a nice feeling, right? And it was. I mean, it was chaos at the gigs. I mean, once we got successful, it was something else. I mean, we had to leave one stage in Liverpool. It was like Beatlemania, and we were on stage, and they had to get us off because the girls were going crazy, and
Is
there
that
are
is that
many.
an amazing feeling when the girls are throwing themselves at you?
It is a bit scary as well, but depends if they grab your hair. But we well, there was, it wasn't like I got masses of hair, but no, nobody ever hurt me. It was. I can't explain to you, or I can explain to you, the feeling of standing at the side of the stage and say it's 1973. It's the epitome of glam rock. It's the epitome of the image of Slade. We're the biggest band in the world then. I'm standing at the side of the stage, and it's like, and I can hear them. You walk on, and it's like absolute mayhem, right? It's just, it's just like the Beatles, just screaming. You could hardly hear yourself play. It was so loud, but the feeling of it can never be replaced. Now, in another way, bringing you up to now, right? The feeling is the same. Standing at the side of the stage, uh, I'm about to play to 20,000 people in Germany, right? It's a big gig. I'm on with Alice Cooper, right? And there's Billy Idol. So it's a massive audience. We've got all the big hits, right? So I stand inside the stage and I walk on, and I mean, the audience, as I look, and I can see the crowd way out there, and we're on those big screens, and looking at them, I'm going, well, that girl couldn't have been born when I had my first number one. And it was about her parents or her grandparents. So the audience towards our music is a lot to do with why Rod Stewart is still popular. Um, Alice Cooper's still popular. It was an era as if we formulated something that worked so well, but it was also about joy. You see, most people who see me smile at me,
Yeah.
and there
It's
isn't this.
impossible not to smile at you, Dave. It's impossible not to smile at
Yeah,
you.
I went to Spain, you see, no, Italy it was, and I stayed at this magnificent hotel, and there's a bloke on the piano, and he starts to play the theme tune to the film, right? I know I don't really, if he realizes what he's playing, but he's playing it. It's a beautiful tune. It's not one of the big number ones, but he's playing it. And I go up to him and how does it feel? And he says, yes, I like it. It's a nice piece of music. I said, well, I'm in the band that recorded that and had a hit. You're not, oh, really? So yes. You know, it's a bad Italian version, but it was like, fantastic. He says, I think I know another one every day, oh, every day. And start singing together, right? So it's all going on. Anyway, and bit by bit, the word gets out. The boss of the hotel finds out I'm in there, right? So bit by bit, I'm everybody. And I walked in the one morning, I'm in the breakfast area. It's the most magnificent creation. It's not just like getting tins up a thing. It's all made for you. And it's you get little cakes when you sit at the table, and the view is magnificent. And it's Amalfi, the place. Amalfi Coast, Amalfi. And I'm walking out. I said to the lady, she ever so nice. She says, I said, oh, I met the pianist last night. I said, I think he's become my friend. You know what she said? She said, everybody's your friend, Dave.
Oh,
How
Oh,
lovely. And I thought about that. Everybody's your friend. You see, I walk around here, right? And I'm in a road of no, working people. People know me as Dave. Now, when I go walk into the countryside, which is just over the back, people with dogs are there, and I see regular people. You know, All right, Dave, are you touring? Yeah, I am doing. Oh, I'm still doing it. I said, yeah, never give up. And it's those kind of
yeah, yeah.
comments. And the thing about it is, and which I need to get clear with you, uh, the statement about um, the tour is correct in one way, but not correct in another. To say it's my last tour,
Ah, that's what I was going to ask you.
I
Yes.
think this needs to be clear. It's not my last tour.
Ah,
It's my last UK tour, back to back gigs,
ah,
because I've reached the point now where I want to cherry pick what I do at
yes.
Christmas. So I might choose a larger venue and draw attention to it. You see, the back to the back, um, I'll be 80 next year, right?
Wow,
So,
that's incredible.
yeah.
You
Uh,
look amazing.
well, I feel amazing for my age. I've got a massive family. I've got a fantastic wife. Um, but I've been doing that tour for 32 years, and I
Yeah.
thought, I just speaking to my agent, and we were talking about it, said, we should announce that you won't do a full tour, right? But I want to make it clear I'm not retiring.
Yes.
I
Right.
don't think retiring could be an option at all for quite some time. I
Right.
mean, Mick Jagger's older than me. A lot of people older than me are out there playing. Our music is good for my soul and my mental state, because in a way, music has saved me because I had two bouts of depression, right, over the course of,
Was that after you'd made it to the top? Was
yeah,
that
after I made it to the top. I didn't get it when I was successful. It was more the later years that it was in our family. Mom was a bit that way. My dad was nothing like that, but it came on me and it lasted 2 years. Then I got well, and then I was like, "Oh, bloody great! I'll go and buy all these clothes." I couldn't. When you're depressed, you can't do certain things. But the interesting thing that's happened, and you don't know this, but I'll tell you, I met Lenny Henry's sister. She only lives in the next town to me, and just by her name's Kay Hinton, and she's a lovely Caribbean woman, absolutely lovely. It's like a brother, I know a brother anyway. And I saw her at the door of this house, and I happened to be in the house because it was the aromatherapist that does my back. And she said, "Oh, Dave," said, "I've been dying to meet you." She said, chatting away, and just an aura about her. It's like offer a Whitney or something like that. She's just lovely. And she said, "I'm putting on a big do. I'm going to raise money for mental health." I said, "Oh, that's interesting. I know a lot about mental health, right? I've wrote about it." And she said, "Oh, would you come?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come. I'll do a talk. I can speak about my mom, you know, because my mom sadly died of it in the end, but she at least saw me make it. She died from the effects of depression. Um, it's complicated, and it's not easy to tell you what was behind it all, but she carried a certain guilt from the past, and there was something. And without going into personal details, Mom was a brilliant mom. Mom was on the case, knew what to do, brilliant with me and my sister. But she did suffer bouts every so often. As she got older, and when I made it, it got a bit worse. And in those days, there was only electric shocks that would get you well. This is the 70s. It was useless. The help was not there. Bringing it up to my era, I met somebody in Birmingham who was top of psychiatry, and she sussed me out big time. And she said to me, "You know what, Dave? I'm going to get you well." She said, "It's a good thing you didn't stop playing." She said, "Because you dragged yourself on that stage and you enjoyed yourself. It kept you going." And it really did. So the music side of things is in my family because my mother's father is a classical pianist. That's where I get it, I think. But in some ways, she just said to me, come and meet. And then the trustees and they all got together and they said, he ought to be our voice. He knows all about mental health. So I told the audience a bit of story of Mom's life, right? And she should have lived longer. She was only 60 odd. She saw me make it, right? But then she became depression with her would take over and she'd end up having to go into hospital or for treatments. And it wasn't good. She'd come back and sound all right for a while. But anyway, the understanding of it and what this conversation is leading to, I'm an ambassador of the whole of West Midlands now, right? And we've won the King's Award for the best mental health in the hospital called not Nufford, Russell Hall have got a hub and they help autistic people, mental health people. But through Kay, she got me to go there. And because Kay wanted to do something, I then started to get involved. And I think, in a way, when I do an audience with who I tend to think about doing this, I should do something special for them,
Yeah.
like music and conversations, and also to draw people that may be suffering. That's one of my goals at the moment. Working with Kay has been so wonderful because she's very excitable, very happening, and I just feel it felt like we were meant to meet. I think we were. So I've got the music. I've got the reasons that people would come and see me. Oh, it's Dave's going to talk about this, or he's going to play some songs, or tell them how about this song, when it was written, and all
Yeah,
this
yeah.
sort of stuff. I'm pretty good at all that. I have done an audience with the launch my life story. I really loved it. Now I know Francis Rossi from Status Quo does audience with, and I know you probably know anyway, is on a talker. And I know the
I'd
pair of us.
noticed, I'd noticed, Dave.
Yeah, yes,
But
yes.
we love your stories, so it's all good.
Well, I just think when you start talking about people go, I never knew that you said you were on top of the pops, or, I always thought you couldn't be unhappy at all, and yet they don't know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
good when you say something to
But it's
people.
quite brave to talk about it, I think, Dave, particularly as a guy, it's quite brave to talk about mental health
Yeah,
issues.
I'm quite happy to talk about it because in some ways, I think with my mom, without going into too much detail, her guilt was unfair, and it was all to do with the time of something that was so long ago, and there were so many rules and things like that. But in short, she got pregnant, and and in those days it was taboo, and it was 1920s and all. But thankfully, she kept the child, and she became my half sister. But the and she got married and she had a boy, and it was good. But there was always bits of stigma, and she met the father in a ammunitions factory, and my dad was there, and he was married, and Mom says it did she probably told him she got a child, and Dad said he was unhappy. He married a nurse, and she wouldn't have his kids, and Mom says, "I'll have your kids." That's what I came in, right? So they're in the underground shelter. They fall in love to the songs of the day. And this is probably 1944. And he he said, to make an honest woman of a mom, he suggested faking a wedding. And I love that story. He said, what we can do, my wife won't divorce me. It's a stigma. He said, And she said, well, I'll have your kids. And then she told him about her daughter. He said, so I didn't know the story until I wrote my book. I went to see a relation who told me, said, your mom and dad faked a wedding. I said, yeah, they went to a registrar and they all come out chucking confetti. He put a ring on her finger. And of course, to us as kids, they were married, but they never were. But I love the story.
Yeah.
It's such a, it was so funny. It always made me realize maybe the kind of people my parents were, but they had to move away from the area where, I mean, these days it wouldn't matter at all. People leave each other,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this.
It was
But
different back then, wasn't it?
yeah, but I mean, even in the 50s, it was taboo.
Yeah.
You although the 50s was a good time to grow up for me because you could play in woods and you never were frightened.
Yeah, it's completely, life is so different now, isn't it? David, Hastings and Margate are two of the dates that you're doing. Obviously, you're
Yeah.
going to be playing all of the hits. Sell
Mm.
it to us. Why should we come and see you? Because it's not going to be your, I thought it was going to be your final tour. So it's not going to be as emotional in that it's not the final time we'll see you, but it is part of the final UK tour.
I think it's just I'll tell the audience when I play. I'll just say, by the way, there's no way I'm retiring. I don't want to ever think that. I think retiring would be bad for me because I think I'm fidgety. I've always been out there, and when I stand on stage, I kind of think of the feeling I get standing in front of a huge crowd, and they're all ages, and I think it doesn't get better than this. I don't have to have another hit record. I'm playing history. I'm
Yes,
playing
absolutely.
lovely, like being in the Beatles. You know. I never saw the Beatles, but I know Paul often plays the very early stuff sometimes when he's out there. Paul's still out there. I never did meet George, and I know John Lennon. John Lennon really liked our singer in Slade. And John heard the Christmas song before anybody heard it because he was in the studio with our manager, and he played this Christmas song to John Lennon, and John Lennon said, "I like his voice. He sounds like me." And a nice thing to say, John
That's
Lennon.
lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yes, Hastings, famous.
Margate.
Margate is Dreamland.
Yes.
So it's one of those seaside resorts,
So if
and
I come and see you, Dave, because I've not seen you play live, if I come and see you, can I come and say hello afterwards and give you a big hug? Because I'd love to meet you.
well, you especially, you
Fantastic.
especially. If you feel at some point that you want a bit more of today, you can always reconnect with me.
Would that be
Just in
okay? We
case.
do an extra we do an extra interview because I love chatting to you.
Yeah,
I'll post this one about the tour and then we could perhaps do another one at
yeah.
another
I
day.
suggest I suggest that there'll be a part two.
Yes.
Once this is
Okay, well
back.
let's leave this as part one that's going to finish in a moment or two.
This is
And
part
part
one
two
of.
will come up and we can hear more about the extraordinary, exciting things that you've been
Well,
doing.
I can bring in a few little stories of experiences with the fame and where we went, and there is some funny stuff in there. But a lot of people go, "Oh, I never knew that," And I mean, did I ever tell you the Bahamas story?
I don't think you did, no.
You've got to hear that one. That is
Save that
that
for
is a
part two. I'm going to
yeah,
remember Bahamas. But one thing
yeah.
I need to ask you before this cuts off. Last time, as I say, we got 42,000 views on this interview. Tell me something you've never told any other journalist about yourself that will be something really special we can include in part one.
Well, I can't. I know some people think this is a bit. I've always felt as a person, um, on a personal note, that I used to go in the woods and stand still, and I felt in myself never frightened. I felt there was always something around me, and I've never told anybody that. It's just something like ideas come in, or there was a feeling that there was more. And my love for Wordsworth poetry, William Wordsworth poetry, some of his deep stuff made me extra deep. Someone said to me, a journalist I spoke to, it was very nice. I think it was Daily Express. She said, "You are really deep, aren't you?" And I am really, really deep. And there is a root in me that there is the fun, there is all that. But deep down, there is something special inwardly, like what I believe about all of us in a sense of life. It's a big subject. I can't tell you in 5 minutes, but I could get into it. I could relay some of Wordsworth's words and say that's what I think he means because he means it to me, because he's more of a nature poet, but he's also religious. And I think there's a deeper stuff. And this sort of stuff, I think, helps us all, in our existence of living this life. I am, in a sense, not everybody knows how deep I am, but I can really go there. I'll tell you what I'm really good at is if somebody is in trouble. I've actually written a really great song based on a true story about someone who committed suicide. I don't mention suicide, but I wanted to write it. Sounds like a James Bond theme, right? But it's very interesting how I portray it, in a sense of what people do over people. So there is, in a way, we could talk about the solo album because that's going to happen now. It's been done. And I'm working with Noddy Holder's son. He's producing it, right? That's
Wow,
a
how
not
exciting. This is
not
all for
everybody.
part two. This is all for part two.
This will be a good one because you'll be surprised at what sort of songs are in there. We're not talking about Come and Feel the Noise album. We're talking about me. I've got to do this. I think it's a personal journey that will set up what's left of my life to do other things around music, right? So I think I can make it really interesting for you.
Oh, Dave, you know what? It's going to cut off any moment, but I absolutely love you. It's so
Yeah.
cool to chat to you. You're so interesting.
Yeah.
I'll get this posted and we'll get part two set up and I
Yeah,
can't
and well, you
wait.
could put a little bit of taster in, like there is a part two, and look out for that. A bit like the cinemas when it
Yeah,
used to go off. You say part two next week. Did he make it? I'm around these next 2 weeks. I can do it.
let's sort it. Love you, Dave. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but you made mum a day too.